and welcome to this week's episode of Her Chronicles. This is a very special episode that we have going on today because this is the second half of the crossover episode of the Infamous Chronicles, covering protests, effectiveness, victories and failures, and whatever else we want, because it's my episode. On the mic, I have Scar.
Hello.
I have the infamous Jane Goldstein. Hey. I have PSac.
Hello.
And then I have, why don't you just introduce yourself?
It's the Jester. What up?
And I think we all are feeling all of the tension that has been going on with multiple protests. We have Million Women's March that I know I was a part of. I don't know, were you ladies a part of that? Or?
I was not. I didn't feel well. I wanted to be, but I didn't feel well that day, so I couldn't make it out.
I almost wasn't because I was really hungover, but I made myself go. So, woo. All right. Being sick's a way more legit excuse.
I just sat and watched CNN and just cussed at the TV eating food.
Why are you so angry?
Yeah, why'd you cuss?
I don't know. Because I think it's an absolute waste of time to protest. I think there's no effectiveness to it whatsoever. It's my own opinion. I know a lot of people think differently. But what are they going to do? Just change Congress's mind when they make up a bill or pass a law?
Well, I think part of it is symbolic. You know, I mean, it was to show that, look, we're united. We as women, we're standing together for this cause. So a part of it is symbolic. Now, the after effect, I'm not too sure about. I didn't follow up myself, so I don't know the outcome, you know, and I feel kind of bad as a woman. So
I take my statement. Hold on. The Women's March is symbolic, right? It's a different type of march. It's not really a protest. It's an annual march thing. I'm talking about protesting like the college students that are all unemployed, that think that they have a voice because their parents gave them a participation award their whole life, walking the streets for absolutely nothing.
Yeah, but I also disagree with that because people assume when you protest that's all you're doing. I mean, it's just one part of a multiple part problem. But I do think protesting it's kind of like a boycott. I mean, that's because like the Boston Tea Party, they needed to protest and then they took further action. And I feel like if you're just protesting alone, that might not be enough. But
right.
Theoretically, the United States, you're supposed to represent these people. So when these people are saying, hey, we're pissed, you as a politician should be saying, this is who I represent. I
need to pay attention.
Yeah,
right. Exactly.
Absolutely.
I know. It's not letting the politicians get away with their bullshit. I get it. But marching the streets and vandalizing your community and stuff like that, that's just not
everyone
acceptable.
vandalizes, and not every march or protest has vandalism.
There's been a lot of violence in these protests.
I would agree, not all, but not all.
Not all. I just said it, not all, but a lot of them do, and they result in violence because everyone's, emotions get all stirred up, and it's just it's not going to be as effective as you think it is when that kind of activity happens.
What about you, PSac? I see you just looking over there. What about you?
I mean, shit, I could probably talk about this all day. But, I mean, I'm kind of with the Unabomber over here.
Jane. Jostein.
Who, it's obviously one part of a bigger problem. And protesting is huge. It's gotten us to where we are today. I mean, America wouldn't even be what it is without protesting. A lot of the reasons why we have some of the laws and the things that people, think are so patriotic is because someone protested it. Someone made it a part of their life to make it known to others, to make it a part of theirs. So protesting isn't all about, obviously, the violence and the stopping people from getting to their fucking house or work or whatever on the freeway. It's more or less bringing awareness. Unfortunately, people take it in their hands to do the wrong things. But again, it's awareness. Whether we like it or not, negativity spreads faster. So if you hear about something because somebody blocked a car, you still heard about the problem.
Yeah, a lot of laws and propositions that come into play are just little water testers. I mean, they don't know how the public is going to react to it, so they kind of push them out there, and then they go, oh, shit, like all this protesting is happening. Well, maybe that wasn't such a good idea. We'll repeal it. We'll bring it back a little bit. So I do get why it happens and what they do it for. I agree, but I just think that it's
They did a silent protest to where, a lot of people hear about the protesting because there's usually a cause and effect. You hear about something happened on the news, somebody was hit, shot, beat, something happened, so the protesting became widespread and viral. When they do real good protesting, it's silent and nobody knows about it.
Like the hippies in the 60s and 70s.
Exactly. So now see there, you just related to something that you're saying you don't agree with protesting, but you instantly knew that day for what it was, or that era for what it was for protesting.
Well, I have a question for you. Do you think protesting has become less effective because of social media? Because when there was no social media, protesting was the only way to get your message out. Now that we have platforms like Twitter and Facebook, do you think that's what's maybe decreasing the effectiveness?
I think a little bit, because it builds up hype, but then it just fizzles.
Yeah.
Like it's present for a moment, and then it disappears. Everyone's on to the next thing, or on to how they're feeling for the day. And it's just, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm guilty of it.
Yep.
I'll see it and
are.
I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm a part of it. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, what happened? Life happened. I got back to my life. So
Yeah.
I think it's a double-edged sword. There's so many more of us that could go voice our opinions, but then on the other side, like you're saying, we've lost that real touch of protesting.
Yeah.
Because now it's just like, oh, this fucker put pickles on my burger. I hate you.
Well, yeah, no, I think protesting is great, but it can't stop at that. And I think that's the biggest issue that we all face. And I felt this way about a lot of our stuff. Like and it's not just with protesting. I mean, our news does it too. We cover one story and then nobody ever, like, what the hell's happened to Flynn? I mean, I know because I followed up on it, but we reported that and then we went to go report on another person in office who was doing something wrong. And the same thing with protesting. You can't just protest, speak about it, and then never visit again. It needs to be a continuous set of actions. And
part of that, I would think, plays into keeping the public busy.
Yeah.
Just like, how the Romans did and did the Colosseum and all that. It's just, let's feed more bullshit so people can protest and blind them with all the other stuff.
Come on. Facebook comments are a great rendition of that. I love how everyone becomes a government and economic expert
yeah.
when something happens on Facebook. It's like they voice a 2-paragraph opinion like they just totally read and people are liking it and this and that. I'm like, oh my God.
Well, yeah. And I do think sometimes protesting and social media will give people an outlet to preach to the choir. Yeah. And in that, I can see how you would think it wouldn't be effective. I think not enough people are doing what they need to, following it. But I don't think that's protesting's fault. I think that's just more of the fault of people being lazy.
right.
Yeah, I agree where I see where you're coming from, but I just maybe say not being effective, more or less just losing value.
Yeah, agreed.
Well, it's lost its value. I mean, not all of it, but a lot of the value has been lost because of the exploitation of it over the internet.
But again, you know about these problems, just like you brought it to the tent. It related to something in you that you were like, oh, back when the hippies did it.
Mm-hmm.
So in a generation far removed from us now, there will be that time where someone will say that again. Oh, that time when they didn't want the gays to get married. Oh, that time when they didn't want Trump to be president. It's just one thing for another.
But the protesting, the silent protesting is pretty effective, I will say. But the negative protesting where you hold hands and block a highway from people getting to work or home, that's bullshit. And I disagree. Like, I will run your ass over. I think the only reason people don't get run over is because they don't want to dent their car.
Or,
they don't want to.
Piece of us that have a soul calling.
Yeah, I was gonna say, some people don't want to watch the life leave another human being and be responsible for it. But,
I'm saying, if my child's going to be born in the next 25 minutes and I got to get to the hospital and you're blocking my path, you're going to get run over. I'm sorry. My child's life's worth more than yours.
I agree completely.
I mean, that's a pretty cool story, though, giving birth to a child and not running over somebody.
And killing somebody on the way.
Yeah.
What a peaceful birth.
I brought you into this
I had to
world,
kill somebody to
Mom.
get this one.
But I mean, what about, because I do disagree. I think it depends what you're protesting, but I think in Inner Mongolia in China, it was really similar to what happened with the Dakota pipeline in the sense that there was one was coal mining in Mongolia and then the other was obviously oil, and that they thought that was their property, so they created a physical block of human bodies. I think that's a powerful thing because they're basically saying, look, we care about
I just don't knock the way anyone decides to protest. I mean, if it means to me, if they're locking arms and holding hands, I know culturally, symbolically as an African American, we're standing together. We're in agreement. It's a uniform thing. So it symbolizes that. So it's a little bit more of an emotional side of the protest than it is for anything else. So it's more about that. So I don't necessarily knock if you decide to lay down in the middle of the street. If that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. Someone's going to stop. It's going to draw some form of attention no matter what. So whether you agree that it's okay or not, or you want to run that person over, it's still their way of deciding to protest, and they're being seen, they're being heard. So Otherwise, they may not be.
Is it okay?
What she just said is like they signed a piece of paper saying, "I'm okay with somebody running me over."
I know. They're saying we support
absolutely.
this movement so much. We're okay
kill
with
us all.
something happened to us.
Run us all over. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But is it okay to inconvenience other people's lives?
It's not a matter of being okay or not. It happens. People do it.
I know that, and I'm saying that
I'm
not okay with it because they're inconveniencing my life, and I disagree with it. I mean,
I'm saying if I believed in something enough, I would go to that extent. That's how much I believe in something. So for me, if it means, let me stand in the middle of the road or let me lay down, that's what I'm going to do.
Also, by you not, participating in some form of protest or, being active in the community, you're inconveniencing somebody else's life. You're saying my problem's not important enough for me to take action. So, you're not doing it as obviously, but you are in a very subtle, if not more impacting way, inconveniencing somebody.
That is very crazy. And to be honest, you couldn't put that type of pressure on the general public. You can't expect anyone to pick up other people's problems because of a protest, because at any other time I can tell you, I'm protesting today because whatever the fuck I want.
That's why I made sure to be clear. It doesn't just have to be protesting. But I mean, truth be told, there are a lot of issues that don't directly affect us that we should still be advocating for.
What is the thought process of a person that when they wake up in the morning, they brush their teeth and they go, "I'm going to go protest today."
I'm going
to make a cardboard sign with a big marks a lot.
I don't think it's necessarily they wake up. I think it's a build-up,
It's a build-up of the media and the pressure and the signs.
It's how you feel, or what can be directly happening to you.
Exactly. Like for me, the Women's March meant so much more than just women. I'm a daughter of 2 immigrants that came here, that escaped communism twice. I'm not just fighting. I'm fighting a president who's against all my beliefs. Yeah. I'm pro-choice. I'm pro-immigrants staying here. Right. I'm pro-women. I'm pro-women not being disrespected or, not being fondled on against their will. That was the reason I was there. And to have so many people in one setting, I'm sorry, I don't know how you feel, Jane, but I got very emotional.
Oh, yeah.
When you see that many people and that power, and to see it all over the world, that all these people also agree with you and say, we're not going to take this shit, it's powerful. It's something you have to witness, to be a part of, to feel in all. It's like when you go to
What did it do?
What do you mean? What did it do?
You said you're not going to take that shit. What did it do?
Well, not only look at what's going on. I mean, he's blocking every media outlet because of it. If you see everybody around the world that's disagreeing, and now he's like, I don't want CNN a part of this. He's fighting everything, so he's not really being publicly seen.
Well, and I mean, to ask what it does, I feel like that's an unfair question. Do you expect in that time, because that didn't happen that long ago. It's
look
not
at
like
Dapple.
all of a sudden, we all protested. Years of oppression to females are just going to go out the window. We win.
Nothing happened then.
But it's going to...
because one protest alone, and that goes with kind of what I said before. One protest alone, that's absurd to think that's going to impeach him. I mean, there are specific rounds of impeachment.
You just took the words out of my mouth, Jane. Yeah, I was going to say, does anyone in this room think that enough protests will get the president impeached? Really?
No, absolutely.
No, but his actions alone are going to do it himself.
But it might influence his policy. And truth be told, I do. I think had women not protested, I do think Donald Trump, in no shape or form what I would like it to be, has calmed down on his remarks. For example, I think, he gave his kind of version of a State of the Union address. It wasn't, but it was along the lines of that on Monday. And he did say, I'm going to advocate for women's rights. I don't believe it. I think it's bullshit. But having said that, he did have to calm down his demeanor because he said, I can't keep objectifying women like that. Something that small actually goes a long way. And I do think protests, in part with a lot of other things, are what kind of made that transformation.
I can agree with you on that. But
what about Dapple? You didn't see the effectiveness in Dapple with President Obama?
I thought Obama's term was an entire joke, to be honest with you. I thought he was one of our worst presidents in the last 40 years.
You thought the Affordable Care Act was a joke?
No, come on, Affordable Care Act. That Obamacare, all
that. What president
that
did you like?
I wasn't even alive.
If you want to talk about have a real president?
I don't know, because presidents, you got to understand, they're a spokesman for a group of people that really make shit happen. They're the guy in the forefront. So then why are you
hating on Obama so bad?
Yeah.
I'm just saying, you glorify him as a president. He didn't really do shit. Like, he wanted to implement that Obamacare.
The Affordable Care Act changed millions of people's lives.
And where is it at now?
Okay, but we can't. Okay, but you
It's
can't
being
judge the term
repealed.
after what happened during his time.
The cost has gone up triple. Where is it at now?
Yeah, but I don't think you can blame that on Obamacare. He had to really compromise that because he was being he was being fought against the whole way. yeah,
of the
it was a
House.
gridlock system with all of Congress. To
They
blame
love
that
to
on
forget
him.
that.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
the part they
absolutely.
love to forget.
No, but what they don't tell you is that every CEO from Cigna to Blue Cross to all these major health companies are not going to give up their billion-dollar incomes for some president that wants to come in and try to change everything.
Yeah, but
This country's made of money.
To blame that on Obama, you can blame that on Citizens
As if you're
United,
gonna
but
say-
I don't think you can blame that on the president or a former president.
I'm just saying, what the
Exactly.
Affordable Care Act wasn't that effective.
Can I tell you exactly
It
what the
absolutely
Affordable Care Act
was.
did?
It-
Just because I know of it because I work in it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so for example, people who have Medi-Cal or people who have Medicaid all over the state, so the very low income bracket, they can't just go to any doctor they want anymore. What the Affordable Care Act did is that every person who has Medi-Cal or Medicaid has to go to only an HMO, which means they can only go to a circle of physicians that will agree to that Medi-Cal rate, thus decreasing Medicare costs over time, saving money so that people like me and Kelly, when we get older, me and Jane get to have our Medicare. So.
Fail.
All right. I agree, and I also think what the not discriminating against pre-existing healthcare is the biggest thing. I think extending the limit of when you can be on your parents' insurance is really good. And I'm sorry, we had a fucked up healthcare before. I get so upset when people are like, Obamacare, what did that do? What did it do before we had it?
I have a $7,000 collection.
I have
medical. Okay,
I have a $12,000
and that was, and I had insurance, and I had to go to the
$14,000
ER, and it was and I was a temp. I wasn't covered under a job. Like, it was ridiculous. So guess what? It's going to sit there.
Why haven't people been walking the streets protesting healthcare over and over like they're protesting all this other bullshit?
They have.
We have.
Yeah,
They have.
yeah,
This is where it
but-
comes
but-
down
but-
to the
but-
silent
but it's-
protesters versus the
Okay,
actual-
okay, but at the end of the day, the health industry is a business. It's a multi-billion-dollar business, if not trillion-dollar business. And the reason it's not set up like car insurance, which is very black and white, $500 deductible, $1,000 deductible. You know, you get in an accident, you pay your deductible. Everything else is taken care of with full coverage. Health can't be like that, which is why it's all fucked up the way it is. And you should know this, being in the nursing field. When an elderly woman comes in and needs, heart surgery and all this extra medication, that shit can linger on for decades with the health issues afterwards and the aftermath of it.
Who are you mad at?
I'm stating the opinion.
No, but yeah.
I'm stating my opinion and the fact that doctors and physicians look at this and go, we can make so much money billing the shit out of these companies, right?
That's
Why
probably
change
why
it?
people
Why
go into
Why
that
change
profession.
it?
Missing the huge
That's why
picture,
HMO
dude.
came into play.
All
Yeah.
these fucking companies are all tied up into the same shit.
Yeah.
They're all big pharmaceutical companies.
Exactly.
That have all the big standard tie-ins.
Exactly.
with
It's
all
a
the big
moneymaker,
healthcare
and
companies.
Obamacare can't change that. They can't alter
not
that.
true.
No. Yes,
Oh, it
is.
absolutely can't. That's
Obamacare
like
literally altered that.
and
Yeah.
the reason
Okay.
why that pisses
Exactly
me off
why
too.
he made it.
Ask the CEO right now of Cigna why he hasn't complied with all the Obamacare restrictions.
Because
and
it's only been
Most-
effect for a couple of years.
Most of the owners
President
of
implemented.
the large corporations
Yeah.
didn't want Obamacare in the beginning,
executive power,
but when
that's
they were forced to look at another alternative, Obamacare was the better bet. So
And-
now that they're
and-
abolishing it, they're going to be facing a whole new list of new standards. Without Obamacare on the table, everything's able to be rewritten. So
Mhm.
now going forward, if they already had Obamacare there, and people like yourself and a lot of other people out there, though there are those in this room who agree with it, did not like it. But being faced with a lesser of the evils, just like the presidential candidate, are you going to choose the more evil one? Because that's what you're faced with the new healthcare program. When Obamacare is completely gone, now it's a new slate. And
Yeah.
whatever the motherfuckers want to ride out,
Yep.
it's their table.
I can't wait for that to happen. The clean slate is actually
They're
something
not
I
on
look
your
forward to.
side. No,
That's
they're
what
not
I'm
on your
saying.
side.
No, but-
you just said
but
it
the
yourself.
cha-
You preached how pissed
Right,
off
but
you were.
if there's any change that can be made, I want to see it change, because covered California, now that the whole Obamacare thing is a bunch of BS, because when I tried to sign up for it, they said, okay, you're gonna be on a covered plan, which is a $3,000 out of pocket maximum, and I go, what do you mean? And they go $3,000 out of pocket maximum before your insurance actually kicks in, before you start getting those free benefits.
It's been that way.
Also, I want to
Right.
chime in too. A lot of Democrats
meant.
have said this from the get-go. Obamacare was far from perfect. It really was. Even Bernie Sanders, one of the most liberal candidates running, said this is a system that needs to be fixed. But to completely outright abandon it and not even bother to make it a better working system, I mean, that's like...
Which they can do.
Like, and take the United States, for example, and this is something that confuses me that conservatives don't understand. When the United States started out, it was not a stable nation. I mean, the Donner Party Jamestown. But you don't just abandon it. You don't just say, oh, this kind of sucks, we're going to go back to what we had. No, you keep fighting and you say, how can we build and expand upon this? And I think Obamacare was going in the correct direction, and it's a shame to see, and it is our job to compromise, and I hate that we've lost that. It's become so polarized. But no, the conservatives should have been able to look at it and say, okay, we're in a power position. Like, how can we fix this? How can we make it better? And they didn't. They shit on it.
There's too many hands in the pot. There's too many different opinions flying back and forth where they can't compromise on something, like you say. It's just, that's the worst part about it is there's just so many different people in charge of different sectors, and when one wants to overrule the other, it works. And then it goes back and forth, and they can never agree on something, which is why it took 5 or 6 years into Obama's term to even get something implemented.
And I will say, I read, because, what was it, like 3 or 4 hours ago, I think the House finally just introduced their new proposal of what they want to replace Obamacare with. And I only got to page 20. There's 66 pages. But they spend 6 pages on talking about the lump sum of a lottery and how to tax that and whether that will go to the remaining form of Medicaid. It's ridiculous. They don't go into too many specifics. I think what they're trying to implement is just outrageous and incomplete.
It's not outrageous. It just takes a lot of people to comply with the rules that want to be set in stone with the healthcare system, and they don't want to comply because that means their salaries are going to get cut.
Exactly,
and
they don't want to lose the money.
Right, the private jet
and
that they own
so
is going to get
it lets
taken
you know
away.
they're not looking out for us.
No.
So what do you think?
100%.
What do you think a better solution is, if not Obamacare?
My opinion is there is no solution because it will never be. Hold on. There is no solution because it will never be voted on by the CEOs of all these health companies. That's why.
So you're saying just don't try, don't do anything, just
It's not.
just
Wait,
leave
why
it
would you want
completely
the
alone.
It's until they back down and say, okay, we will.
Who's they?
But what's going to
All
influence them?
the owners and the board of directors and CEOs.
All the board of directors and owners of huge conglomerate companies seeing protesters and giving a fuck.
Yeah, pretty much. That's what it's going to take, and they're not going to give a fuck. They're going to want to. They're going to want to keep that.
You know the answer to the question.
I will say one of the main issues is that our Attorney General doesn't enforce antitrust laws. I mean, we've allowed these companies to start monopolizing, but I think in combination with something like Obamacare or some form of socialized medicine, and then finally getting an Attorney General that will enforce antitrust laws, you could absolutely take them down.
It's all about compromise. What you're looking at coming up with all, facing new problems and threats, they're going to bend, not break. They're not going to change that lifestyle like you're saying. Their billion-dollar pockets aren't going to thin, but there'll be a bend.
I'm going to use a really good example here. Okay, the hedge fund kid that bought the rights to the AIDS medication for $700 million. How does that happen?
How did the
because money is power, and you're never going to get these guys who are in power to back the fuck down because they want that money.
I'm just confused. I'm not hearing what any of your solutions are. I do understand complaining.
My
about
solution would be make health insurance like auto insurance, and it would work perfectly. The only thing they need to do is regulate people after a certain age, and I would say 62, whatever. Just put a number on there. To regulate them to not abuse the medication, they need to be capped off at a certain amount per month of medication so that they can't go over the limit.
But what if you have cancer? So you just get capped? Like, oh, I'm sorry.
No. If you have no. When I say capped,
your chemo medicine.
No, hold on. When I say capped, a doctor is going to assess that person, right, and whatever cancer they have, and they say, okay, you need this many milligrams of so and so to keep yourself sustained. That's your cap. Because we know how much it's going to take to sustain yourself.
Then they're just
not go over that, and then they won't abuse the medication.
But then,
who's going to abuse fucking cancer treatment shit?
It hurts. Let me pop 2 more. A lot of people
Okay, you're
would.
talking
It'll,
about pain management and then
kill you.
oncology.
Yeah.
It's completely different.
I'm just
stories.
saying, there's so many different types of medication you can abuse.
Okay,
how
the
is
one-
that,
okay,
how is that
abuse-
factor into health?
Abuse can only go into play when you're talking about pain management, not necessarily oncology. You can only do chemo so many times, and you can only do radiation so many times to a point where the oncologist has the power to say, I cannot give you these treatments anymore. You know, I want to
medication.
I need to put you on palliative care. Let's put you on hospice.
That's
They
different.
get to a point. Yeah, but you can't, there's the only abuse there is, and it's been proven historically, has been pain management.
I just said regulate. Okay, the medication.
It is regulated with a
full circle
HMO.
on the companies, man. You can't talk
All
about
I'm
doctors who are the ones who work for the companies that you're asking for to make that change and end up listing out those scripts, giving it to the patients in
Getting
the first
that money.
place. And then, yeah, exactly. Getting that money
Getting
like you're
that
talking
money.
about, and that's all the bigger picture is. So, in the end, it doesn't matter. No matter what the doctor, decision maker, whoever is up there, the only person that really needs to make the choice is the fucking patient who's so far removed from it.
Yeah, and the difference between with auto insurance versus health insurance, because I see that you compared the two.
Paying monthly and $100.
Yeah, but it's also
that's
like-
a huge one.
The car industry.
Tell me it wouldn't work.
No, it wouldn't, because the car industry
Fuck no.
doesn't have a monopoly on car parts, whereas the
So
health
you're
industry has a monopoly
That's not
on
true.
drugs.
That's
Right.
not true. They have a huge monopoly on it. They own everything that they make. So in that sense, they just make. a
But
part.
you
It's
can
there.
go to somebody, like you can go to a
Multiple.
different mechanic who you have more options. You
True.
can't really like be like, hey, I like this doctor behind my house. I'm going to go to him. Like,
Yeah.
you have way more.
But it's like looking at cell phone carriers. You got your Verizon's, your
Yeah.
main big carriers, and then you got your Boosts and your all your other shit.
But
Like, you can
I
go-
would say it's way less monopolized in the
Yes.
auto. Not to say there still isn't a problem, but I'm saying I think the biggest problem is the monopolies that the health industry or that pharmaceutical companies have. We agree on that. We both think pharmaceutical companies have way too much power. But again, this is the problem I have with a lot of people. They think, oh, well, this alone won't work. You should just ditch it. No, nothing is ever a one-part solution. You
Right.
need like 3 or 4 things to at least to go along with it.
And if that doesn't work, try something else. Like,
Yeah.
don't just stop. Don't just give up. Like, yeah, what it sounds like to me is you're like, let's just lay down and just get it out.
No, I'm
Like,
saying
Someone's usually got to die before somebody's
Auto
some shit
insurance-
changes, you know?
usually.
I'm
Usually.
comparing it to auto insurance because it's laid out so black and white versus like if you have a Honda Civic versus a Lamborghini, you're going to pay a smaller premium for your Honda Civic versus your Lamborghini. You have back pain versus cancer. You pay a smaller premium because of your pre-existing condition versus your cancer. It would be laid out perfectly, but they don't want to do that because they make money on that medication. And when somebody comes in and they want to charge them a $7,000 or a $12,000 bill because that's what they think their time is worth, the insurance
say-
companies pay
I
it.
wouldn't
So
say
if you-
perfectly, like I'm a perfectly healthy person and I have great
Okay,
benefits.
PSac, $49 a month. $49 a month is your health insurance because you're in great shape. $500 deductible if some shit goes down and your medication is capped off when the doctor prescribes you something because he knows your condition is at a certain level that you only need 100 milligrams per dosage, right?
Okay.
That would work perfectly versus myself who has beat skin cancer 3 times and has to go to Zyclara, which is $85 per treatment. So because I have a pre-existing cancerous condition, I should be charged $69 or $79 a month because I'm more at risk of having to utilize that. Just like car insurance. But they don't want to do that because when I walk in and you walk in, you pay $49, I pay $79 a month. We're the same person walking in there when we have something new happen to us. That's why it would work out
I get charged more
perfectly.
because I've been in 7 accidents. I just want
Right,
to say,
you're more of a liability at a
yeah,
risk.
and
Wait,
there's
so you think you should have to pay more because you've had skin cancer 3 times?
No, but
just
my
like
medication
character
costs
traits.
more.
Yeah.
My medication would cost more than a guy who doesn't need medication, so I'm more at risk to be utilizing it. So they need to protect themselves. That's why it's called insurance. They need to protect themselves because I'm more at liable to, more likely to have to utilize the medication.
Yeah, man. I mean, but you're talking about a world where you're literally fucking looking at commercials instead of a gecko talking about this stupid ass 15 minutes or less. You're going to be your healthcare providers. Come over to me. and
Well,
all
we
that
kind
bullshit.
of, I mean, we have that with medication, like that little egg that jumps around. Are you depressed? Remember that old commercial?
Yeah.
I mean, we do have advertise because I know in Europe it is illegal to advertise medications.
But a
You have
monthly,
Aflac, you have
a
the duck.
monthly subscription outside of your own paycheck that pays for your medical like needs. That's just insane.
Also, I think, it comes down to the argument, is health a constitutional right versus is driving a constitutional right? Because you compare the two, but I think one's a lot more significant than the other. So I don't necessarily think they should be handled in the same way.
No, I mean, they should not be, but I mean, that would be my solution, my fix of the problem.
Okay.
And I mean, I'm glad you guys just sat there and listened to it. I know that I'm a little bit biased with it, but I've had to deal with certain things that probably a lot of you in this room have not had to deal with. And the way I see it is that's the only solution to make it affordable for everyone in this country, is to treat it like car insurance,
As somebody who had cancer,
Mm-hmm.
did Obamacare affect any of the medication that you had? I mean, I don't know if you have to take any preventive medication anymore. Did it make it go up?
No, it didn't make it go up, but when I wanted to go get a treatment done, like at the physician, it definitely went up.
It did, interesting.
Because I was cash paying. Because
Do you have a PPO or HMO?
I have an HMO.
Wait, why were you
That's-
cash paying if it wasn't?
Because it was a skin institute for dermatology, a specialty skin institute, and they didn't take my medical insurance.
Okay, yeah, and I do think that is a problem. That is a problem again,
Right.
and I
Right.
agree, and I do think that's an issue.
You know why?
Perfect,
You know why?
right there. I
But
want to
hold
bring
on.
it back and hold it in the moment to where right there where we go full circle back to where we talked about protesting. Problem to you. Now, you don't believe in protesting, but if this became a problem and it was heard worldwide and other skin cancer patients and shit like that had made their say and stopped traffic and all that bullshit, you're not for that?
I can't say I would or wouldn't be, because I'm
Good
just
one.
I'm just.
What if they made alcohol illegal?
I wouldn't. I wouldn't.
Yeah, Michelle, he asked a really
I-
good
I wouldn't
question.
care.
I would protest for that. I'm just saying.
A lot of people did.
No.
That's like that.
I'm just not the type of person to get up and go out and walk on a street for something that might not happen. I don't take
But
those
you
chances.
felt
But
that. You felt that in that moment when you were sitting there and you kind of thought about it like, damn, if I had an army of people.
if I
feeling
had
the same way-
700,000 women, or I'm sorry, men or women, who had my condition wanting to walk the streets to protest, and I knew at the end of it something would happen, something would change, maybe.
Well,
So
you
hold
never.
that
You
again.
never.
Though,
Hold
part
that
of that
moment,
is the
guys. Let them
hope.
hold that because that women's march didn't start with 700,000
Yeah.
people. It started with probably just 3.
Right.
Maybe
Mhm.
just
But you
100.
also never know the out. That's ridiculous. That's
Mhm.
like being, if I knew I was going to be a lawyer, then maybe
If I knew I was
maybe
gonna
I'd
win
put
the lottery.
myself through law school. No, you always, nothing is ever definitive. You never have that. So I mean, to base your action on that, how could you ever accomplish anything?
Right.
True, Dad.
Yeah, well, I like how everyone's like pointing the fucking finger at me
No,
now.
and I mean,
No.
we do appreciate you sharing
I tried
your
to bring
opinion.
it back to
No.
protesting.
I've been in that
No,
spot
and
where
thank you,
where
because we
think
needed to
differently.
get back to that,
Yeah.
but thank you.
I tried.
No, but seriously, going back, this is just one issue from the many issues that can change. And that's why people marched. I honestly believe, like, not just our medical system, it's everything. It's everything right now. And we're really feeling
Yes.
it in a society where everything is being pushed against us. And that's why marching is so important. And you're right. We're not going to see the results overnight. But there has been a lot of political analysts that I have heard on NPR and multiple stations that say there's no way this guy's not getting impeached.
So real
Oh,
quick,
I don't think he'll get impeached.
since we went back on it and we covered
I hope
so
he
much on
does.
Colin, what is everyone's real quick around the room, because I know we'll go into it, is what you would protest, like how we just
That's
related
true.
to Colin. What would you
I
want
like that.
protested?
I have a good answer.
Go.
Okay, so I've actually been trying to organize a group. So if you're interested, let Michelle know, because I'm anonymous. The number one thing, because I know John Locke, actually, the guy who our Constitution is completely based off of, said you have the right to a revolution. And I've always wondered what would be the pivotal moment that would make me start a revolution. And it's starting to happen. And I think that's the second the press starts getting limited. And also the second our judiciary system starts to fail us, which it has, but I think it's been more successful than not. But yeah, like not allowing CNN, BuzzFeed, no matter how much I think BuzzFeed is illegitimate, that's when I would protest, is when we start getting our voice taken away. Because that's what better way to fight against your voice getting taken away.
You
than
think
just-
CNN is illegitimate?
No,
No.
I think BuzzFeed's illegitimate.
No
Oh,
questions.
yeah.
No questions. Next person.
I would agree with Jane. If my voice was being taken away, for sure. And then, you know what? For me, anything race related for me, it's important. No one really knows, I think, what we go through as a culture. So for me, it's important to stand with my community. So when it comes to race relations, I would support and protest as well.
I have a question I want to ask later.
No questions until later. Yeah, I'm gonna do mine, and we're gonna save Michelle's for the best for last. So, basically, mine is just how we stand to where every single issue we brought up tonight was a governmental issue, just like you had brought up, Jester. President is an icon. The things you brought up, it's one part of a bigger problem, just like yourself. So it is everything wrapped up in one is not the decision makers we think they are. Look at the bigger picture, the government at hand. That's my protesting thing. Is let's put the power actually back in the people. So, Ghost.
What about, wait.
No, we covered, that was the whole show.
Okay, hold on. What would I represent? Okay, multiple topics, but number one would be immigrants, because again, I'm a byproduct of immigrants. That's number one. Being pro-choice, I think I would, obviously, if I could make an impact, hopefully it doesn't get taken away or revoked. I stand with Black Lives Matter, always have, always will, and making medical marijuana illegal all across the country.
Illegal?
No, legal.
Oh.
Sorry. Did I say illegal?
I thought you said illegal.
Oh, okay.
We got
Making
you.
medical weed legal. I just want everyone to know. Smoke pot. Yeah.
Technically, it is legal. It's just very gray.
Well,
Well,
wait,
no,
no,
it's
Right.
federally still very much
In-
illegal.
no,
Well,
in
yes,
our
it's
state.
a Schedule 1 federally, but you're in a state now to where it's just recognizes, and it has been for a long time. Let's
Yeah,
face it.
Right.
but dude, if Sessions decides he wants to come down, we're
Yeah,
all
I get it.
fucked.
Everything's always have to have. There's always. It's like Batman and fucking Joker. There always has to have. Tension.
That's true. That's
you
true.
need to have that tension.
You do need to
Otherwise,
have that.
What the fuck is Batman?
Right.
You know, like what the fuck is weed without being like, dude, it's
He's
like,
my
I can
favorite.
smoke it.
Do we have time for me to ask a
Yes,
question? And
absolutely.
It's
Go ahead.
controversial, and if I sound like an asshole for asking this, just let
No.
me know. As someone who's black, do you like it when white people protest with not protest the Black Lives Matter, but protest with you in the Black Lives Matter movement? Or is it more of a like, you don't know what the fuck is going on, why are you here?
No, I welcome it. I appreciate it. It lets, I mean, especially if it's sincere. If you're just out there just to be out there and to see or to, you know, and it's not authentic, then it's like, why are you here?
Yeah.
But if it's genuine and it's sincere, absolutely. I mean, Bernie was a prime example of that. Like, I love Bernie. So, I mean, and
doesn't
there's
love that man?
multiple of, you know, people out there that stand with us. So, absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Thank you for answering.
All right.
Can we talk about the really cool posters that we saw at the Women's March, please?
No, there were some really funny ones.
What was it? 3 Doors Down fucking sucks. That was one.
Oh, dude, I saw the one where the guy was in it, and he was like, Chipotle doesn't charge for guac or some stupid shit. And he was stood outside. Everyone was tripping.
3 Doors Down sucks is what one of the posters read.
Yeah. 3 Doors Down fucking sucks.
3 Doors Down does not suck.
Oh,
okay.
God. You're one of
Three
those.
Doors-
If
No,
your opinions
no,
weren't
no, no.
invalid already,
No.
just invalidated
No.
everything.
No.
Yeah, dude, you
When
voted
they
yourself
drop,
out of the room.
no. When they drop that
That's
video,
it.
"Hold Me When I'm Here," with all the Marines going off to war back in 2003, if your heart didn't drop for that, you're not American. You shouldn't even be. I mean,
Are we not American or are we not
I
little
love how people
bitches?
try to
No, no,
dictate
no, no,
Hey, man, I
what
bet you
makes
somebody
you
protested.
American or what makes you
And-
this or
and-
what makes
That
you
is
that.
true.
Like,
It's like
No,
the song
no,
with
like-
Common and John Legend that they won the Oscar for Glory.
yeah, I don't know the.
Okay, yeah, that song was powerful when you see Martin Luther King and the people crossing over the bridge, and I can't remember exactly the specifics, but that
It
song
was like
won the
Selma,
Oscar.
yeah.
Selma.
Yeah.
the
For-
original Selma soundtrack from the '60s, though.
I agree.
That
that
hits.
was a good song.
Yeah, but the John Legend and the Common one was really great because that's
song-
both
that
my baby
song-
daddies in one track. It's got really.
I thought that song sucked a fat dick. To be honest with you, but
Oh, you're not American.
Kryptonite by 3 Doors Down, and Hold Me When I'm Here by 3 Doors Down. Now I will give you this.
Do you like Nickelback?
No, I was just gonna say, fucking. Oh my god! Come on! No, pound it. Come on! I hate Nickelback.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yes.
Oh god,
I thought you were liking
No,
it. You made
I
it
was-
seem like you liked it.
I was just gonna say Nickelback.
they're the same caliber for me.
No, 3 Doors Down. No.
Fucking-
Wait, we're talking about that fucking Kryptonite song?
Come on. Yes.
Come on.
Come on. A hit is a hit. You can make a hit song. Doesn't matter who sings it. You make a hit. It's a hit.
Basically, that's
Justin
like,
Bieber has some hits, and I don't really listen to his shit, but he has some hits.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you got me there. That shit was a hit back then.
I'm telling you,
That shit was
a hit is a hit. Doesn't matter who sings.
I
it.
still remember some of that mumbling ass bullshit because it's like rap today. It's just mumbling. It's
I mean,
like,
Hanson also had
Yeah,
hits, and I'm not going to argue that they
Hey,
were good either.
yeah.
So
No.
They were great. What are you talking about?
that's my shit.
Those are the tits. Okay, I have a question. Since you're against protesting, I have to ask. If there was a subject matter that is super important to you and it was being fought against by our American government, and you're like, fuck this shit, I do have to protest, what would it be? Since you're against protesting.
The cost of gasoline, because crude oil is owned in this country. It's owned by Exxon, Mobil, and Shell, and BP, and all that. So these guys at the top, these CEOs, control the price of gasoline. Why? If the prices considerably at fast food restaurants have gone up by 10 cents incrementally over the past 3 decades, right now we're paying $8 for an extra value meal versus $4 back when they first dropped. Why hasn't gasoline done the same thing? It went from $4. It was at $4.75 average for 87 octane, and now we're back down to under $3 again. Like, why has it done that?
I do understand that oil and the food they serve at fast food restaurants are two completely different products.
I know this.
And
No,
one has to do with supply and demand.
You went south and north on the fact that you're talking about, like-
No.
No,
You're
I mean,
missing the
let me
point.
hear your rebuttal.
You're missing the point. The point
Am I?
is that if the cost of things steadily go up, right?
Get 'em, James.
With inflation. If the cost of
Yes.
things steadily go up with inflation, why is oil not doing the same thing?
Talk about
Why is
Because
it fluctuating so much?
There's a supply and demand.
It's the only
No,
thing that
the
your car's
supply.
running on.
Our population goes up every single year in this country.
And it also goes down.
No, it doesn't. It
goes up
steadily increases.
way
So
faster.
A lot of people die.
Actually, ours is starting to decrease a tiny bit.
Did any
no,
of you guys watch Inferno?
Really?
we're at 337 million right now. So
Well, our population rate hasn't gone down, but our reproduction rate is going down.
We've
So our population rate
tripled.
will go down.
population
if
rate
we
means
follow
more cars
patterns.
on the road. Means more cars on the road, which means the demand is always going to keep going up. So why are they bringing the price down? And why was it so high at one point? Were they just trying to suck and bleed the money from all the people? I mean, were they trying to just cash in?
You know, it was high during a Republican term, right?
Yeah, and it has to
Winter
do.
grade,
There's
right?
there's multiple. I would like to say there are a lot of factors that go in there.
Winter
Like,
grade and summer grade.
And they went up in Los Angeles because we had that Long Beach refinery accident. So for a while it was extremely high because of that. That didn't necessarily have to do with the price of oil per se, but that had to do with the transportation of oil.
These BP and Exxon and all that, the drilling over there, getting it all from the Middle East and stuff. I mean, who's dictating the price of oil?
OPEC.
No,
Yeah, that's
they
like
are not. They are
disputable.
not. They
Let
are
me
not
get this.
dictating the price
No,
of
you're
crude oil.
absolutely-
Ask yourself this question real quick, Colin. How long have these companies been in business? These gas companies, all these people that you're talking about? BP, Exxon?
Nearly a century.
Okay.
Yeah, they have been.
Over that time, with all the shit you know about today and all the technology, you don't think that they've replicated the formula for what they've made as gas today?
Oh, come on! Don't drop a
You
conspiracy
think they're
theory.
pumping shit out of the ground today, 3 decades later?
Absolutely.
Motherfucker, how the fuck is that shit just out there, just filling up and
I
up?
mean, it is, but we're
Because
depleting
ISIS
it.
is trying to sell oil now.
Come on,
They've
get
taken over
real.
oil fields
Well,
over in
ISIS is-
Syria,
I
and they're
Take
trying
a
to
drop
sell
of your
oil.
blood and duplicate it and make it a full fucking bag.
But you don't
and
think
send it
ISIS
across the
plays a
world.
factor?
But you
as-
can't tell me
wait!
they
You
can
don't
do
think
that?
ISIS plays a factor
Yeah,
as
they're.
to the inflation? I mean, that's
I
like
mean, they're
you just
using
answered your own question.
innocent people's lives as
Scarcity, I think.
hostage to
That's all
increase
it is.
prices. I get it, but it's like we buy it at a certain rate, and we don't have to buy it at that rate. We can dictate. We're not going to buy it. You need us more than we need you. Why aren't we using our oil
But
from
not
our
enough
last?
That's
people
not
do
true.
it, though. Not enough people do it. You can say, let's boycott.
So that's
And then
what
people will go to Target. They will go get gas on the day that you say boycott.
So that's what I would protest. I would protest that. Why are we still buying oil overseas when we can use our own supply? Let them just fade off into the distance until they really decide to get their shit together. And
I have an answer for you.
Would
By
you
the
protest?
way,
Yeah.
there are water cars now, and there's a hybrid, and there's ways to be economically friendly, so you don't have to use that much oil. As a citizen of this nation, you could do everything in your power to use less oil.
True.
You could do that yourself.
I don't want to spend 3 hours at a charging station. I don't want to spend 3 hours at a charging station charging my electric vehicle. And
There's hybrids.
Excuses.
I don't want to spend $80,000 on a nice Tesla.
I have a $24,000 Prius
Yeah.
that I pay
But
for
you end
$80 a
up
month for, but it works.
And you're the one that I blow right past on the on-ramp with my 300 horsepower.
let
Well,
me-
he's
can-
blasting 3 doors down.
Jane, high five.
I like it.
Americans. Fuck yeah. By the way, let me just educate you guys on one more thing.
Are you not American, though?
Huh?
You said Americans.
I said America.
Oh, they said
And
Americans. Okay, I think you said
maybe.
Americans.
I don't know
One,
what I
half
said.
a dozen of the other.
I identify myself as Latina first. Because
Oh, really? Before American?
Mhm.
I will always, like, as I am a bleeding heart liberal, I always
Spanish was
identify
my
myself as American first.
Spanish was my first language.
No,
I
mean,
did
that's-
not. My first language was not English. My first language was Spanish.
That's just interesting. To me, I like being identified as an American.
No,
For
I'll
like
always
before
say-
being Jewish, before anything. Like I like being, because American to me means diversity. Like in American,
Mhm.
I encompass the terms Latina. I encompass the terms Christian, Catholic, Black, White. All so that I guess it just kind of depends on how you.
Isn't it
define
Catholic
It's
and
Catholic.
Jewish? It's Jewish.
it's
It's not.
Jewish.
It's Latina.
Latina.
Okay? It's not the
Latina.
only
And
language
Jewish.
out there that has its own rolls of shit.
I'm
Okay.
like Jewish. Like there we go.
Go filter fit.
Jewish.
No, okay. So I identify as Latina because I know a lot about the history of South America and stuff like that. In Venezuela, for example, they don't like Hugo Chavez. They don't like Sebastián Allende. They don't like those people. So what happened? There were huge protests that unfortunately weren't covered by the rest of the media. But a lot of people, they shut down colleges for a week. There were people on the streets. It was one of the largest protests in the entire world. And unfortunately, because their media shut them down, barely people covered it. Only NPR covered it.
For freedom of press.
That's why it gets to a point where you have to say something.
But in America, a lot of people protest.
Exactly, but there's
And it's
results.
covered by the media.
You can't say that there hasn't been results over it in the
No,
in
I
history.
didn't say there has not been results. I mean, the Vietnam War, obviously, that was the biggest result of protesting. You know, when they stopped
I
the
think
war.
it was more the war, but yeah.
I also look at because of the Black Lives Matter movement. I would like to say how many body cams are starting to be. I know City of Los Angeles is getting body cams soon. Last time I went.
I think body cams
That's
are
not
great.
just because of the Black Lives Matter.
No, that-
I think that played a huge.
No,
I think it
factor
played a
in
huge part as well.
huge part of it.
it was when Al Sharpton got on TV after the Michael Brown case and basically told on CNN, like, we need this or it's going to be an ongoing problem. And I agree
Yeah,
with Al
because it was an
Sharpton.
ongoing problem.
And I
Yeah,
agree
and
with
That's
I
why.
think the
So
Black
it,
Lives
like,
Matter
like
really-
I said, it influenced. I think it had
But those
a major
things,
part.
again, they take time. It's not an
Yeah.
immediate solution.
Actually, it could be an immediate solution. I mean, technology it can grow overnight, and they can make 1 million body cams, you know, in one of their little factories.
But you
and,
have to get that approved by budget committees.
Well,
I mean, there's a
yes,
lot
but
to
it's
it.
it's government regulated, so it can happen if they wanted it to. They just don't want it
No,
to.
it can't. Trust me, I work in the city. It's a slow ass process. I wish what you were saying would be true. That'd be fucking awesome. But
I think it can. If Apple can make 10 million iPhones in 30 days in their factory, they can make body cams that
So
fast.
you're
no,
saying
they
they're-
can make
they're
the body
shuffling
cams
paper.
that fast,
Yeah.
but actually getting the budget to fund those body cams, that's the issue.
Well, yeah, that's two different things. Getting the budget, yeah, it's tax dollars at that time. At that point.
All right, you guys, that's going to be it for this week's episode of Her Chronicles. If you like us, if you want us to stay alive, please do yourself a favor. And if you also like to read books at the same time, you could support our show by going to www.audibletrials.com/TIC. And that's it. Have a great week.